Hello there and welcome to TVS Nightline, here with me, Shel Shamina, and a Happy New Year. And let's get to the headlines. Now, top headlining story today: 6 out of the 9 victims of the Triso ferry tragedy have been safely buried in the Muslim cemetery of Kampong Hulu, Sri Aman at around 5:30 p.m. on Saturday. The bodies of 36-year-old Siti Aisyah Abdullah, along with her 5 children, were previously managed at Sri Aman Hospital.
After funeral prayers were held at the Bandar Sri Aman Mosque at around 4:55 p.m., the bodies were brought to the cemetery on 5 hearses that were provided. All the bodies were buried in one cemetery plot. Among them were 16-year-old Nur Shuhada Muhammad Hamzah, 14-year-old Khairunisa Muhammad Hamzah, 7-year-old Muhammad Aiman Muhammad Hamzah, 5-year-old Muhammad Mustaqim Muhammad Hamzah, and the youngest Muhammad Ahmad Muhammad Hamzah, who was 4 months old. Meanwhile, the other 3 family members, 33-year-old Ronani Ting, 7-year-old Wallace Pang, and 12-year-old Elvin Pang, will be buried in Nirvana Cebu Memorial Park on Sunday.
All of this is a test from God of life on earth only being borrowed. That was the brief answer given by Muhammad Hamzah Razali, husband to 36-year-old Siti Aisyah Abdullah, who died along with 5 of their children in the tragedy at Triso Ferry Jetty on Friday. Although shocked by the news, Hamzah has resigned to the test that he has received.
After receiving the news, he only managed to recite the kalimah istirja when his mother-in-law informed him on the incident at around 3:19 p.m.
Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. Setiap sesuatu datang dari Allah, kembali pada Allah. Ya, Jak. Ya, ceritanya macam tu. Kita minjam barang. Nah, bayar barang ya orang yang minta balik. Kita bagi sih. Boleh sih kita madah si boleh. Macam ni juga. Kita tu semua pinjaman daripada Allah nak. Anak bini ya pinjaman dari Allah. Setakat ialah nyada bersama kami. Allah ambilnya balik, kami pun terima je lah. Kami siapa mula apa ya.
Hamzah said that usually he would accompany his wife to send his children to their tahfiz school in Kuching, but unfortunately he was not available this time because he had to attend to matters in Kapit.
Selalu nang kami lah yang kuang kuit pergi, tapi nya insist nak pergi. Nya pun insist nak hantar. Biasa kita pergi sama lah. Biasa kami pergi sama. Tapi masanya insist pergi suddenly dengan adiknya, dengan plan sudah 2 adik-beradik lah nak pergi, nama dah tadi sudah 2 nak pergi sama nak.
For the third child of 7 siblings, 13-year-old Muhammad Imran Shafi Muhammad Hamzah, the New Year's tragedy was the ultimate test for himself. Although he was lost for words, he courageously received the news of the death of his 5 brothers and beloved mother. He lives with his sister, 10-year-old Fatima Najwa Muhammad Hamzah, and his father Muhammad Hamzah Razali.
The family of the Triso tragedy victims continue to receive attention from the masses, including the Minister of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs, Dato' Seri Alexander Nantalinggi, who met them in the scene.
Ini bagi keluarga, tadi saya bual dengan ibu kandung, mangsa-mangsa dan nenek kepada ramai budak yang bangsa tu. Memang sedihlah dengar cerita bagaimana dalam saat terakhir sebelum kejadian tu amat malangnya lah, kerana 9 orang dalam satu keluarga kehilangan nyawa. Jadi kita datang hari ini untuk mengulus banyak sedikitlah meringankan bebanan yang ditanggung oleh keluarga.
Nanta, who is also Cabinet Member of Parliament, expressed his appreciation to all parties who provided assistance to the victim's family.
Following the matter, strong guard railings will be built at all ferry jetties in Sarawak. This is to prevent a recurrence of Friday's tragedy where a 4-wheel drive vehicle plunged into Batang Lupa River in Sri Aman.
According to Tan Sri Dr. James Jamut Masing, who is also Sarawak Infrastructure and Port Development Minister, the State Public Works Department (PWD) had been instructed to start the building of guardrails immediately.
To implement the strong yang railing yang tebal tu, railing tu, so that whatever happen, guardrail tu, nothing can fall out of it. So that's the next one we have to do with immediate effect. Okay, and then it must understand that the car fell from the ferry ramp, not from the ferry.
He also added that the tragedy served as a grim reminder for the need to strictly follow the standard operating procedures for using of such facilities.
One, you do not, all the passengers mesti keluar dari motorcar sebelum motorcar tu masuk dalam ferry.
Commenting further, he said the state government had allocated about 3 billion ringgit to build bridges across rivers that require ferries for crossing in its second trunk road project, linking all the coastal areas in the state. The state government is even funding it, as the previous Pakatan Harapan federal government cancelled all of the bridge projects. The Batang Lupa Bridge cost about 848 million ringgit, and the state government is willing to use its own funds as the infrastructure is important for the people.
The Minister of Entrepreneur Development and Cooperatives, Datuk Sri Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar, offered his sincere condolences to the family of the perished victims of the Triso ferry jetty tragedy.
He called on relevant authorities to conduct a thorough investigation on the matter, including evaluating the safety features and procedures of the jetty and the ferries, especially on the movements of the passengers and vehicles. He stressed the importance of a proper standard operating procedure, SOP, and the availability of adequate safety features at public facilities. He added all angles concerning safety, namely the embarking and disembarking process, would need to be looked at. On top of that, the staff working at the jetty should also be given proper training on safety and rescue procedures.
The Sarawak Rivers Board, or LSS, will carry out a full investigation of the Triso ferry tragedy. Minister of Transport Datuk Lee Kim Shin said a full report will be provided by LSSS and the Public Works Department in charge of ferry operations in Sarawak.
However, Lee refused to comment further on the incident until the investigative report has been completed. He said the cause of the incident is still under investigation. Meanwhile, the ministry will also improve safety measures and take into consideration advice from experts on the matter to avoid similar incidents from occurring in the future.
Bumper. Okay. A meeting on Monday will be held to discuss measures to improve the safety of all ferry jetties in the state. This was announced by Assistant Minister of Infrastructure and Port Development of Sarawak, Datuk Julaihi Narawi.
According to him, the meeting would involve the Sarawak Public Works Department, Sarawak Rivers Board, and ferry service operators throughout the state. At this time, there are 12 ferry jetties throughout Sarawak, with 7 of them operating on the Sarawak Coastal Road. Meanwhile, the Sarawak governments are looking to equip areas still depending on ferry services with bridges, including the Batang Lupa Bridge, which is expected to complete in 2025.
The Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Bilal Shah and Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Haja Azizah Aminah Maimunah Iskandaria expressed their sadness over the plight of Malaysian student Nur Izzah Muhammad Shokri, who was seriously injured in an accident in England on Monday.
In a statement on the Istana Negara Facebook page, Their Majesty prayed for Nur Izzah's speedy recovery. 20-year-old Nur Izzah, a first-year accounting and finance student at the University of Manchester, is now in a coma and receiving treatment at the Salford Royal Hospital after undergoing surgery. The Karak Pahang-born Nur Izzah suffered serious head and rib injuries after the bicycle she was riding collided with a bus in Wilmslow Road, Rusholme, Manchester at about 4:25 p.m. England time.
Meanwhile, committed to raise state's standard of living, Senator Jaziri Al-Kaf Abdullah Sufyan pledged to assist the government under the leadership of Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin.
According to Jaziri Alkaf, he is ready to help in increasing the standard of living through the enrichment of education, enhancing socio-economic development, and improving rural development. He added, this is to ensure the nation's economy continues to grow and the prosperity of the B40 group is taken care of. Meanwhile, for students, education holds a special place in his heart, and he wishes that the disparity in academic achievements between the urban and rural areas can be closer. Through education, students will be better equipped in terms of their thinking and skill sets. These skills include creativity, resistance, innovation, and human skills, which are believed to contribute to the nation's progress in the future. With that, he said everyone plays an important role in ensuring the development of the country.
The Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry, KPDN-HEP, has yet to discover any involvement of a cartel in relation to the forgery of trade or halal logos among frozen meat importers.
Its Deputy Minister Datuk Rosal Wahid said investigations had so far unearthed one importer involved in illegal activities. However, he said that the company was not part of the cartel's network based on last year's records, which shows that there were 2 import transactions by the company. However, further investigations in this matter will be continued, and KPD and HEP will not protect any parties involved in this illegal activity.
On to some COVID-19 updates. The start of the year saw a drastic jump in cumulative positive cases globally to 83.88 million since the pandemic began last year, following an increase of over 700,000 cases in one day.
The global death toll due to COVID-19 is now at 1.83 million, an increase over 12,000 deaths. Meanwhile, the United States remains as the worst-hit country and is the only country that has recorded over 20 million cases, in addition to the highest number of daily cases. Meanwhile, Libya has become the latest country to record over 100,000 cases of COVID-19 since Thursday. So far, Malaysia is in the 72nd position worldwide, overtaking Venezuela in the total number of positive COVID-19 cases. On Friday, Malaysia recorded 2,068 positive cases, with 2,066 local infections and 2 imported cases.
2,295 new COVID-19 cases were recorded on Saturday, bringing the total number of COVID-19 cases detected in the country to 117,373 to date. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said of the new cases, 9 were imported.
Selangor continues to record the highest number of new daily cases at 638, followed by Johor, which recorded 580 cases, while Penang recorded 288 cases. As of now, there are 22,398 active cases. 9 deaths were recorded on Saturday, bringing the total cumulative number of deaths to 483. Meanwhile, a new cluster has been identified in Sarawak, designated as the Mador cluster. The cluster involves the Meradong and Sibu districts. The index case of this cluster is the 1,115th case detected on December 30th, 2020, as a result of the screening of individuals entering Sarawak from Peninsular Malaysia. 8 cases were recorded from the cluster, including the index case.
Now, Pesta Kaul is the celebration showcasing the facets of the Melanau community in Sarawak. Although held in the new norm, the atmosphere is as festive as always.
According to Kampong Madong and Kampong Klit village chief Yasa Haji Tanbek, in this year's celebration, only the epoch-feeding ritual led by Bapa Kaul was held.
Yang sekarang hanyalah menghantar serarang ke empat buah serarang ke kampung sebelah hulu, sebelah Sile dan seberang macam tu aja. Yang lain-lain macam pencaksilat apa-apa pun tiada atas sebab pandemik.
Kaul is a festive occasion that is always awaited by the Melanau community since long ago. It is meant to feed epoch, or the spirit that controls the universe, with the ultimate hope of prosperity and sparing from calamities. Sarahang, meanwhile, serves as the eating grounds of the epoch. Once, Kaul was seen as a religious celebration by the pagan Melanau community to ask for blessings from the creatures of the sea, land, fields, and forests. Now, Pesta Kaul is the cornerstone of uniting the largest Malanao community.
As we dive into the tourism industry, the newly opened Telian floating market will become one of the new tourism products for visitors in Sarawak when opened on Saturday. According to Telian Assemblyman Yusip Nosh Balo, it will benefit the tourism industry and stimulate the community's economic activities in the Muka area.
The floating market, the first to be established by focusing on the local community as the main player, is located over 6 kilometers from Muka town. Yusip Nosh added that the planning of the floating market will probably be continued, as it could be expanded to other areas in the Telian constituency. Yusip Nosh also hopes that Muka will attract domestic tourists when the new airport is completed in the middle of this year.
And that concludes TVS Nightline for tonight, here with me, Cheryl Shamina. As always, thank you for joining me tonight. Have a good night and I'll see you next time. Have a good week.